Hello, everybody, and welcome back once more to Anime Yay or Nay. I am TheOutbackAl.
I'm Yin&Jung.
I'm NVJiters.
I'm CheerandCosplay.
And I'm Kozi.
And we're back for another week of Makoto Shinkai. I was going to call it month, but I mean, it's going to extend a little bit beyond that at this point. I don't know if we're calling this anything in particular. But,
Shinkai stories.
Shinkai stuff. We'll workshop it. We're almost through the whole thing. Now's the time to get a title. Anyway, yeah, so what did we watch this week? It was Garden of Words, or The Garden of Words. I always forget whether to put "thes" on stuff.
The Garden of
foot
Words.
porn.
Yeah, well, hey, we'll get there. This was Shinkai's not short film, but it's not like a feature length. It was like, what, 45, 46 minutes?
45, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
they,
initially 46, but...
they needed a term for a movie, like a novella for a novel. Like, it's not a short film, but it's not a feature-length film. It's
an
something in the
hour-long
middle.
drama on TV.
Oh, it's 45 minutes, so...
That's what
Oh,
most...
well, I guess with commercials, yeah, they probably would have stretched it for an hour.
Yeah. So, this was from 2011, I believe. And... yeah. How did
It's
everyone...
really uncomfortable to watch.
I wasn't uncomfortable, but okay.
I mean,
It's
the
pretty.
thing you're bringing up was like 10-second scene.
Yeah. How did you guys feel about not having Radwimps?
Yeah, this was the first one we saw without Radwimps for this.
I guess this was before he discovered them. Or I don't know when Radwimps was formed. They might not have existed.
I don't know, but the first one was definitely Your Name by
Oh, yeah.
Yuzo.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess this is the...
Okay, now I need to look it up.
I guess I would say it's to be expected. It's pretty, but as far as the story and characters, this either should have been a full-length... Well,
Kinda creepy.
this should have been a full-length movie or a short miniseries. I think having it 45 minutes kind of doesn't give it enough breathing room to convey the emotional moments it tries to state.
Okay,
It
so
was-
real quick before we continue, I just wanted to say real quick, Radwimps debuted in 2003 and then was signed to a larger record label in 2005, so he had the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Cozy, what were you saying?
This was something else first. I don't remember if it was a manga or a light novel. Give me 1 second.
I could see this.
It
being
was
like a light novel, short story thing.
the manga.
It was
The manga came out like 3 days before the film came out. According to Wikipedia, the manga came out on April 25th, 2013, and the anime film came out April 28th, 2013.
Okay, so yeah, he made a manga, a light novel, and this all at the same time, it looks like. But apparently they all had slightly different endings.
I can kind of see that because it looks like the manga ran from April to October, and what would be the point of waiting for like the issues to come out in October when you've already seen this in April or May or something?
Yeah, I mean, we can get into the basic plot, and then we can go over some of the differences, because Wikipedia kind of explains the differences between the manga and the movie.
It's pretty short and simple. It's about a high school student who wants to make shoes and meets this woman in a park. They just kind of start hanging out because they're just both there on rainy days. They just kind of start
Because
talking.
they're both cutting, and they both know they're cutting.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of
Cutting
camaraderie
school.
there, I guess.
Don't just say cutting.
I mean, he thinks...
Well, I mean, he just thought she was cutting work.
Yeah.
He didn't know she was a teacher at that point.
Yeah,
Like
well,
cutting
yeah.
responsibility. You make it sound like they're sitting there with a razor blade.
I mean, you
They're
never heard
hanging.
the phrase cutting before?
They're chilling. They're skipping.
Yeah, the cutting is a old form of saying skipping.
Oh, I
They're-
know that, but it's cutting something. If you say just cutting, it makes it sound like self-harm.
Oh, okay, well, he's cutting
they're-
school and she's cutting her
Context.
work.
So they're hanging out in a park on rainy mornings because they don't want to go to the respective places of the places they're supposed to be. And they start to
she's
chat.
drinking.
Yeah, well, wouldn't you?
No.
No.
I don't know. I'm not that much
I
of a
don't think
morning
we're allowed
drinker.
to...
Other than con weekends, I guess.
10 a.m.
Are we allowed to just, like, drink beers in the park like that? I feel
No, there was
no.
a sign. There was
There
a
are
sign that
laws
said
around
no
that.
beer.
Yeah, no. There's
Yeah.
like open carry laws out
Well,
here
even in the
that we
movie, there
can't
was
do,
literally a
but,
sign that said no beer.
You,
Open carry.
you see, that is what it's called.
Yeah,
Open carry sounds like a gun.
it's what it's called. It's open containers.
Yeah,
That's an old term,
I'm positive
too.
that's what it's called.
Most of them are called brown bag laws because most people wrap up their drink in a brown bag so you can't tell what it is. Regardless of that, they hang out, they start chatting. Time goes on. I think because they don't really know who the other person is, or at the very least, the kid doesn't know who this woman is, so he's like, there's no stakes here. I'm just going to reveal that, like, here's my hopes and dreams for my life and that. And then, I think he's just telling them for the first time, sounding them off and that, just to kind of get them out there a little bit, because he feels comfortable, because he doesn't know this person. And, we eventually find out, like, she's dealing with depression and stuff what were you going to say?
Yeah. She doesn't necessarily know him, but
she knows
she
where he
works
goes
at
to
his
school.
Yeah.
That's revealed later. I shouldn't say later. It's a short movie. It's
During, I guess, the third act
it's almost
of this
revealed
45-minute
immediately
movie.
after. They're like, haha, you're depressed and can't function as an adult.
I mean, who can anymore? But yeah, that's a larger conversation for something else.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
she's
but like
dealing with a
even
lot.
like the excuse, like I understand that like high school kids are bitches and they picked on her because the one girl's boyfriend has a crush on the teacher, but like it's not her fault. I mean, she didn't reciprocate his feelings, so why would she? I know kids are stupid, and I'm thinking way too much
very
into
stupid.
it, but
I mean, we don't know what the extent
I think
of
we have to
what happened was.
question how much she may or may not have reciprocated, considering the context of this movie.
Okay, I see where you're going with that. For now, I'm just going to assume that it wasn't reciprocated. At least hope that.
I think like the ending gave kind of weird vibes, but like I can't tell really. It's like open ended,
Okay, so let's just
no,
get through the plot and then
100%.
start analyzing.
Yeah.
Wait, what was that?
Let's just finish the plot and then start
Yeah,
analyzing.
finish the plot first.
So, yeah, it's eventually revealed, she was a teacher. She's leaving because she was essentially being harassed by a number of students because one kid had told her he loved her or whatever, and the whole thing. The kid gets into, I wouldn't even call it a fight because he got taken down pretty quickly because he went after the people who did it to her. And then there's a whole thing of like, oh, I'm in love with you. And she's like, yeah, you should not be in love with me. I am way too old for you. And eventually they have this emotional moment in that where they kind of like, I don't know. I guess they didn't have anyone else to confide their feelings in about their own lives. And so they just sort of dumped on each other a little bit.
yeah,
Then they
they're all
hug.
trauma dump.
And then, they go on their separate ways. And then there's the after credit scene. Did you guys see the after credit scene?
Yes,
With the shoes?
Okay, I was wondering how many people knew there were going to be an after
You're trying
credit
to
scene.
trick them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was hoping no one had realized that there was an after credit scene because then I was just going to come up with something really
well,
crazy.
that was one of the differences between the manga and the movie. Apparently, in the manga, he gave her the shoes, and she was wearing
Okay.
them at the end of the manga.
Oh.
I mean, it doesn't.
Wait, he gave them to her like before.
Yes, in the
Yes.
manga, he gave the shoes to her before they
And then went
separated.
Before they
like
parted
America or
ways.
something?
Okay.
Well, he was going to Italy to
Italy.
do cobbling, as they call the shoemaking.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, that's the word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
Interesting.
guess that's different, not that.
And apparently, in the manga, they continued to talk to each other via email after the events of the
Okay.
movie.
And then in context of like Japan, email is just texting. That's
Yeah,
what they
yeah.
called it before.
Is that because they don't have a specific word for texting?
No, that was just kind of like what they call it texting now.
Okay. So,
Okay. interesting.
Probably because their texting looked like an email form.
I'm trying to think. Because I was in high school when this came out, and it's pretty much like a lot of these are like written and like animated and that concurrently. And I'm trying to think of like where we were with like phones and emails and texts and all that sort of stuff.
I
and
mean,
what it looked
I
like
guess
at
the
time.
best way to describe it would be what model iPhone was out in 2013.
Yeah,
2011,
I feel
it would have been like 4.
2013 was like the really big launch of a lot of like smartphones.
For a lot of other ones, I remember, because I was a freshman, 2007 was when the first iPhone came out, and I knew like one guy who had it. So we would have
Yeah,
been
I feel
4
like
years in at this
2013
point.
is where it was getting more common because like
Yeah.
that was like kind of the downfall of like BlackBerry, Motorola, all of
Yeah.
that. Chibi
They're
says
reliable.
that Japan was still using flip phones until pretty recently. So
Okay.
it was hardcore old school.
I mean,
texting.
I'll say this, because my dad had worked for a utility company. He's actually retired this year, but he worked for a utility company for a number of years. And it was only in the past like 2 years that they had him using like an iPhone or something. He had like a flip phone for a very, very long time from the company because they were very reliable signal wise.
And they only switched over because they wanted them to start taking video calls.
Yeah, exactly. So there was like certain things that they couldn't do anymore. But I guarantee you, probably because they're also cheaper, the company probably would have preferred like, yeah, just keep the flip phone. Go with the Motorola Razr. That's what he had, I think. Outside of technology, was there anything else we wanted to do? Or do you I feel like you guys really want to get into like analyzing their whole relationship. So
this boy is 15 years old.
Yeah, and he got a crush on his teacher. I had a couple of those too.
And she reciprocated it.
I don't know if she reciprocated
No,
that.
she did.
I don't agree with
did.
that.
I don't know. I don't agree with that either. I kind of. She never said the L word, and she kind of even said, you're a student, I'm a teacher, I'm an adult. So
I think the vibe that I got, based on like just how it was presented, is that it was presented as like a forbidden love story.
A little bit, yes.
For better or worse, I feel like that's what they were trying to present. Like they can't be together, but I felt like she was wanting to be with him. I don't know. I could be wrong, but that's the vibe
get that
I got.
myself.
No, she definitely wanted to. And then I think in the manga, she specifically waits until he's done with like high school.
Oh wait, so they do get together in the manga?
Didn't see it. Don't know.
Wait, do they?
Envy, you got the comparisons going.
Yeah,
Tell us what
who's
happened.
read the manga?
According to Wikipedia, they texted each other and said, "Hey, how are you doing? How's life?" And they never really mentioned much if they're seeing each other, but they may have mentioned it a few times.
Okay. At least to me, I felt like this was a situation of two people who were in kind of tough points in their lives. She's transitioning from this job that she had to like she has to move, she has to do this thing, she has to do that thing. The kid's home life is not great. We didn't really touch on it, but his
mom's an asshole.
Yeah, we don't know what the situation with the dad is. The brother's now moving out. He's kind of now living on his own and he's working all the time. But he also has these dreams that I don't think anyone else in his life is like really listened to him about. And I thought the two of them were just kind of like having this moment where like we have this other person. And I thought it was just a situation where they were like, I just need someone to not judge me or not think like any one thing about me that I can just confide some thoughts into.
I think like I feel that he was like having that hole because of his mom, and you could tell with the shoe connection between the mom and the teacher that I think in a way he was treating her like a replacement mom, but also he fell in love with her because he's a kid. So those feelings like get mixed up, I think. So I think like
Oedipus
I don't know
thing.
if it was a weird Oedipus complex thing, but like there were clearly parallels between like my mom's gone and I had this thing about shoes because of my mom and I miss her a lot. And now there's this lady who's a little bit older and more mature who can fill that void a little bit. But then he falls in love with her because once again, he's a 15-year-old kid.
Right.
But so like love is like complicated when you're a kid. But like the girl,
her as the adult in that situation, it's her responsibility.
It's kind of weird
to draw very clear boundaries. In the fact that because she was in a sad place, she went after someone who was also in like a sad, vulnerable place is really weird and creepy. Even if it was just to like, I need someone to commiserate with. As an adult, you should not seek that out in a child.
I understand what you're saying, where you're coming from on that. It's the seeking out part that I'm a little iffy about. Was she hopeful that this person that seemed to be going through some similar things as her, or at least feelings-wise, was there to do the commiseration?
The second she
Yes,
didn't draw very
but
clear boundaries, that is seeking it out.
I felt like she did draw clear boundaries whenever she found out, like, oh, you're actually, like, into me. This is not just like we're friendly thing.
Yeah, telling him she was wrong and chasing him down and, like, embracing
The
him.
ending
Yeah,
is
that's
what
very
makes it
clearly
feel,
not
Alright.
drawing
Yeah.
a boundary.
Fine.
It was the ending
But-
that made it feel like it was like a forbidden, but she wants to be with him, you know?
Yeah.
It literally says, like, if you look at the plot, realizing her mistake for rejecting him.
I think, like,
Well, is that Wikipedia,
Like, I would have
or
been
what
okay
is
with it
that?
up until the end, but then, like,
yeah.
she was too into it at the end when he was yelling at her.
I think in real life, this would be, like, wildly inappropriate the way that she interacted with him. Like, I would never interact with a 15-year-old like that, and I'm her age. I just think it would be just weird, you know?
Did they give us her actual age?
Yeah, she's
Yes.
27.
She's
26.
27.
26?
Yeah.
Yeah.
27.
Worse!
It's just weird, you know?
I mean,
Like,
she's a teacher.
in
How
real
old did you
life.
think she was?
Yeah, she was gonna be somewhere in that area.
I
think
thought,
the
like,
youngest
early
teachers
20s
that I had-
maybe, since they were pushing this. But even
I-
with early 20s, that's still weird.
No, she was 27. They said specifically. Like, I think it's being presented as, I don't know, somewhat of a love story. But I think in
Japan
real life,
doesn't
it would be
have-
really weird.
Yeah, Japan doesn't have, like, they only just recently bumped the age of consent from 13 up to 16. They don't view
That's-
it necessarily the same way as we do here,
That's
which
a
is
bit
problematic, but
That's a bit of a misnomer. Nationally, yeah, that the age of consent is below 18, but if I'm not mistaken, I think I read somewhere that the individual prefectures also have standards by which they go, and each of the prefectures is 18. So it's not considered the national law, but it basically is 18 over there, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, I don't think most people in Japan either would consider this relationship acceptable. I think it's because it's in a movie. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, part of
There
it's because
are
it's in the
a
movie, because it's
lot
a movie.
Of stories from Japan that focus on teacher-student relationships.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't know. Either way, in real life, this would be very creepy. It's still kind of creepy
Yes.
in the movie, but it's... I don't know. It was a pretty movie. It was very pleasant to watch, but yeah, their relationship's kind of weird.
Also, like, again, the one scene with the foot, like, it was so weird.
Dude likes
He
shoes.
has
He's into
a foot
feet. I mean, what do you
fetish.
want? We do like.
He was literally, like, fondling it.
I thought he was measuring like every angle of it. I think if you actually do make custom shoes, you actually do have to do that.
You have to fondle the foot a little bit.
I think I
Like,
remember.
no, like, the measuring was different to when he was just, like, he
Touching it.
had a grip on her foot, and he's like, this is what foot feels like.
It was definitely a fetish shot. But
Oh no, Tarantino. That's his favorite anime. I
it was,
guarantee you. But yeah,
They,
I
they
don't know.
put too much detail into it, too.
it was a little weird.
So, like, also, I feel like we can address, like, his entire interest in her wasn't necessarily at first that she was older and filling in a void. He liked her feet. He was looking at her feet, and he's like, I can design shoes for those.
Like, in a way, yeah. I think deep down, a lot of it had to do with the mom. But I think, yeah, on the surface, maybe it was the feet. I don't know.
I don't necessarily think it's technically creepy on his end that much. I mean, he wants to make shoes. Girl's got some nice feet.
Now,
I
does he
mean,
want to make shoes because he has a foot fetish? Or does he have a foot fetish because he wants to make shoes?
Yeah.
You know, I feel like this
The
is a
real
chicken and the
questions.
egg. It's very much a chicken and the egg kind of thing, I'm sure.
You can't have one without the other.
I
Yeah.
don't think
To
you
be
can make
together.
shoes if you have a foot fetish. What if you just pop a boner in front of a client?
That I don't know, self-control.
You gotta
learn
control
it over
yourself.
time. I mean, if this were being really realistic and he had that situation and he's 15, I mean, he would have been fully erect the entire time. And it
Oh
would
my
have
God.
been
Yeah.
even more awkward. So, like, maybe he's not actually into feet. The director might be.
The director might be into feet.
Like, those are some very Tarantino shots. And he's well documented. So,
I mean, in Your
Okay,
Name, Suzume, and Wuthering You, there really wasn't any feet shots, so...
wrong. I actually think there have been a bunch of good shots. Maybe he just likes shoes. Because there's been
Or
a couple
feet.
different shots of, like, designer shoes and stuff in some of these movies.
I'm gonna be on the lookout for this now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta go back and rewatch everything
Where's the
in the
shoe?
context of, is this a foot fetish?
Oh my god. Every one of his movies is literally head in the clouds, feet on the ground.
Oh my god.
Well, I mean, he does do a lot of shots that are like, you only see the feet of the people walking, like when he doesn't give us like full body shots of them.
Yeah, he's like artsy. Kind of
Yeah.
I wanted to say like European style cinematography with like some of that, but it's like it's kind of permeated like a little beyond. I feel like I'm going back to being a film student.
Okay,
like,
okay, maybe Shinkai doesn't have the foot fetish. Maybe he thought that's what Western audiences would have.
Okay.
Right,
Admittedly, he's probably right. But I don't know.
We will never know.
Nor should we probably know.
Yeah, I don't need to
You know what?
know.
If you're into something that's not gonna like, isn't harmful, whatever. You're into feet, you're into feet, whatever.
I mean, I personally
As
never
long
got
as
the
it's
foot...
consenting.
I mean, I never
Like-
personally got the foot fetish thing, but I guess to each his own.
I think feet are gross, personally.
Yeah, but you do you,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, like, it has to be, like, non-harmful, but also, like, it has to be between consenting people.
She pulled her shoe off and was like, "Here's my foot."
No. Yeah, but, like,
Okay,
in
yeah,
context
don't-
of this boy potentially having a foot fetish as he goes to become a shoemaker.
Oh, we have an issue with him ogling feet in public.
Consent.
I mean,
Safe,
He's a
sane,
minor.
consensual.
so are you saying he should have like? Can I look at your feet?
May I
Before
look
he
at your
looks?
feet, ma'am?
That's gonna get real awkward real fast, and then we don't have a movie.
No.
I barely have a movie anyway.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fair.
we-
That's fair. It's yeah.
This isn't held together with much.
It's held together by the feet, man.
Would you say Makoto Shinkai really put his foot in it? I mean, he does with all of the shots. I mean, we said before, the movie's gorgeous.
It's
Like,
as pretty as the others.
The
pretty.
rain, the park in general.
Yeah.
My God,
it's
I feel like I
ooh,
visited
yeah.
that park having watched this.
It's very good at, like, transporting you, but also,
Mhm.
like, kind of feeling, like, isolated in your own world, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, which is the vibe he was going for. So, mission accomplished.
I mean, sometimes you do have that. Have you guys ever like gone to like a park and been the only person there?
Yeah, a few times.
It's kind of nice. I mean, as long as you're not feeling like lonely that day. But
Well,
actually,
so,
I don't
like,
know if you guys remember the snowstorm we had here, 2014, I think, where like it almost like shut it. Like even the rivers were frozen almost
I think-
completely.
I think most of us had gone home.
Oh yeah, you were gone, but I think everyone else might have been here still. I went down to Point State Park just to like take pictures of the river and that because it was like all ice. So I don't know. It was interesting being out there.
That freshman year, I used to just, I guess all the years, I used to just walk around the city in the middle of the night alone.
Oh
Probably
yeah.
wasn't my smartest idea, but
No, 3 a.m. is the best time to go out and walk around in the rain and think.
Yeah,
I
those are like
genuinely believe that.
those cool liminal spaces where it just feels like you're apart from time and everything. It's really cool.
But you're not in the back rooms.
Yeah, but you're not in the back rooms.
What did?
I mean, backrooms isn't always supposed to be creepy. It is just supposed to encapsulate, like, that liminal space feeling
Where were
Yeah.
in
we?
common areas.
like, what's
Burlington.
it called?
Yeah, you
The
guys
back
ever
rooms.
go to Burlington Coat Factory?
Yeah.
If you go really to the back where the products all stop,
It's the back room.
it's the back rooms. You're like immediately
Like,
like,
Burlington around here shut down.
who's out like what on McKnight? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we haven't gotten to the Makoto Shinkai, things are starting to fall apart stuff, which is, I'm thinking has also kind of been a thing,
yeah,
but not
hey.
so much here as much.
Nothing weird was happening here besides the feet.
Supernatural.
Okay,
There was a lot of rain, though. There was a lot of rain.
We probably shouldn't say weird and make people feel bad about their foot fetishes, because I guarantee you we have at least one fan who's got a foot fetish. I'm not saying that I know that. I'm just saying statistically it's bound to happen.
And the one fan who has a foot fetish is feeling extra called out now.
We
know
I told
who
you that in
are.
private.
I'm not gonna say foot guy, foot person. You're foot person. You're valid.
Yeah,
You're valid.
it's not a weird, fetish or it's just weird that he made a movie out of it.
There's a little more going on than
I
the
feel like
feet.
the movie was less about that, and that was just a piece of it. I feel like the larger thing is the actual, the student-teacher deal.
Yeah, that's definitely worse than the foot fetish, though.
Because there's nothing wrong with the foot fetish
There's
thing.
nothing wrong with the foot fetish.
You out there. You out there. You're valid. I'm not making a joke.
There is wrong with teachers hooking up with their students.
That's
yes,
wrong.
that's
I
That is
want to
wrong.
know, I wonder what his general marketed audience is.
I feel like I need to
who
look
is
at
he
this,
actually aiming for?
Well, like most good artists and directors, he's really making it for himself, and it just so happens to be good enough that everybody likes it.
Doubt. That does not secure you funding.
It does if you're really good at it.
Yeah. I'd point
He knows how
to
to draw
someone.
landscapes.
I'd point to someone like Christopher Nolan for certain things of he's definitely making movies for himself. They just so happen to also do really well at the box office, so people will fund whatever that hell kind of weird thing he wants. If he had not made The Dark Knight, he never would have been able to make Inception.
Yeah, so you can look at his first thing, 5 centimeters per second, and you can be okay, that was kind of seinen. Yes. Okay. So that was kind of aimed at teenage girls.
5 centimeters?
Yeah.
Really?
It was all about a dude being in love.
Yeah, but
there are
It's
those
the female
romances for
gaze.
men, too.
yeah, that felt a little more like that because it was more of not just. Well, I mean, we'll get to that eventually, so I don't want to go into too much detail on it. But it
Yeah.
felt a little bit more about
seinen, though.
his experience of
Yeah.
having love.
Oh, so he's
Yeah, I
the
think
dick.
I think it is for men. Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, you know what? We can probably take a look at this comparison when we get to it a little bit more, but I kind of feel like 5 centimeters is a little like 500 Days of Summer.
Yeah, it's definitely from the boys' perspective more so than the girls.
And I kind of feel like 500 Days of Summer is a lot more of
it's kind of a male gazing movie.
it's absolutely a male game.
It's a male gazing.
I didn't want to say a men's romantic comedy because that sounds like I'm selling soap that's actually
The
not as
men.
good
Okay, see,
as the
I
original
think-
soap.
I think the issue is 5 centimeters has a POV change for the middle of it.
You know, you're right.
But there
That's
are also
true,
a
but
lot of
Still.
I've seen a lot of anime aimed at men that focuses on girls. You know,
Oh, yes, they're called harem shows.
not just harem shows, but other shows too. You know,
No, yeah, I hear you.
again, I
Like a
think
lot of
this is
cute girl
a
shows.
issue of maybe it is to men, but when we think of it in a Western context, our toxic masculinity would be oh no, that's not boy shit.
yeah, I definitely always
Because,
got that sense.
Like
Thought it was
back when his name was still getting out there, his audience was by far and large female.
I don't know.
I mean, I wasn't there looking, so I don't know.
At least in the West. I don't know about in Japan.
I don't know. I'd have to check on that one. But I do think the vibes I get is that it's young adult men.
Yeah.
But I think nowadays it's kind of everyone, you know?
Yeah, I think,
It's pretty universal now, I think.
I feel like, yeah.
Kind of
at
like
least with-
Ghibli.
yeah, with Your Name, Suzume, and Weathering With You, I think he was definitely going for more of a
Yeah.
general audience vibe.
Yeah.
Maybe not G, but like, well, there's some stuff that maybe I wouldn't bring like a 5-year-old to for those movies.
But I
But
feel like,
you know.
kids can
Yeah.
watch it easily,
yeah.
It's an 80s PG movie.
Like, I would have watched it when I was 9.
That's a great way to describe
Yeah.
it. Yeah. We haven't hit Temple of Doom, and we haven't figured out that PG-13 needs to become a thing.
So we just have our toddlers watching Grease and wondering what pussy wagon means.
True.
Was that rated PG or G?
It was PG.
Okay.
Did they change it?
I don't know.
I
Do they
hear-
update movies?
I think they do sometimes, because especially for like older films, because sometimes you have to retroactively do things. Because up until Temple of Doom came out, there was only PG and R. So,
Yeah.
and of course X, but I think everyone knows what those movies are. But yeah, so they didn't find that middle point until they were like, well, Temple of Doom is far too scary for children, but it also doesn't have all the things we normally rate things R for. We have to make something new. So I think anything before that, sometimes you will get a retroactive, it's been adjusted to now PG-13 type stuff.
Grease is still listed as PG.
I know
Oh,
a
well.
lot of the time they would change the Grease Lightning line from cream to scream. Make the girls scream.
Apparently, Temple
Have
of
you
Doom
seen-
and Gremlins both pushed the PG-13 rating.
I can absolutely see that, and Gremlins
Which, to
is
be
amazing.
fair, I haven't seen
Gremlins is-
Gremlins, so
Fuck, you need to see
It's
Gremlins.
good, we gotta
You-
watch it.
I
You
also have
especially
not
need to
seen
see-
Gremlins.
You especially need to see Gremlins 2, because that's even better.
It was zanier.
It's
This list
the
is
best.
never ending.
It's
Oh, yeah,
never
we're up
ending.
It's also
to-
never starting.
Look, I'm trying to make plans. We'll see what happens. We're already up to 517.
517.
Is that including you
Okay.
putting Gremlins and Gremlins 2 on there now?
No, they've
They're
been on
probably
there.
on there,
They've
yeah.
been on there.
Okay.
All
They've
right.
been on there.
I have to ask, because it feels like we're going very much into our Patreon content sections. Is there anything else we should say about this movie?
Okay, well, I kind of feel like this is kind of like yay nay territory, but like I don't think this is worth the watch for most people. Like for 45 minutes, you don't really get a very satisfying story. It's really weird in a lot of places when you think about it in like a social conscience way. Like you can see the visuals like with Pretty Rain and all that and Weathering with You. Like you don't really get anything out of watching this.
I kind of feel what you're saying a little bit, but at the same, I would probably maybe be a little less on this if it was like a 2-hour movie. But it's also not a big time sink, which I think, yeah, probably if you're a Makoto Shinkai fan, like, if you're not a Makoto Shinkai fan, you could probably skip this one, because you're probably not going to get as much out of it, like that you might out of Your Name or Suzume or something like that. This is probably just for the fans of Makoto Shinkai. Maybe.
And feet.
Well,
Yeah, if you like feet, go ahead.
hey, you're valid.
I like Makoto Shinkai, but I just thought this movie was meh. Like, I didn't hate it, but I don't think it was that great. I mean, obviously, visually, it's fantastic, but as far as story and characters, it kind of missed the mark for me.
I felt
And not
similarly.
even- Yeah, I'm not even like that route, but just as a general story, kind of. Because, like, one thing I wanted to highlight real quick, that same year, he had another short film, a 7-minute short film called Someone's Gaze, and I saw that
Someone's
a
gay.
couple of years ago, actually, after I saw Your Name, because I was looking up his filmography, and it's on YouTube. It's
Right.
only 7 minutes long, but I think it has a great message, and it tells its story better than this film did in 45 minutes.
Well, I'm going to throw out there, just as a thing that we could do, like, tack it on to the end, because we're going to be going through, like, we've been going through the feature films and that. We could take, like, a time at the end just to do a couple of his short films, because I know he did make a couple of those, and that could fill up an episode. So, if you guys want to do that, I'm down to watch a couple more of those, because I know he has another one that was kind of famous, like, Voice from a Distant Star.
Yeah, that
Voices
was
of a
pretty good.
Distant. Sorry, that was like
So,
25 minutes. I haven't seen that one
yeah.
yet.
But, like, if we end up wanting to watch,
I-
like, some of the short films as well, I say why
Honestly,
not?
I feel like this one should have fallen into that category.
Maybe.
Like, I know it's 45 minutes, but
It's this definitely it feels, because it's not a feature, I'd have to call it a short. But it's not that
it feels
short.
out of place with the rest of these.
A little. But still. Yeah. Do we have any other final thoughts on this? I think for me, I'm like, if you like Makoto Shinkai, you're going to watch this anyway. So yay for that. If not,
Yeah, I found it mostly like a meh as
where,
well.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that, of course, the animation's gorgeous, and I guess it's an interesting character study, but the characters themselves, I don't know, I didn't really connect with, and it was a little odd. And I don't know, I just feel like the sort of story it was just done better in 5 centimeters, just in terms of, like, the small story that feels real. Like, it's just about people. I feel like that you can get from 5 centimeters. And then the pretty, like, weather, like, rainy scenery, like Kozi said, you can get from Weathering with You.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you can find the elements of this done better in his other films. So I don't think it's super worth it unless, like you said, you're, like, a big Shinkai fan. And, like, I wanted to watch all of his movies, so of course I watched this one.
Right.
But it's definitely, like, very low on the list. It's probably, like, my least favorite of his movies. But I don't know.
Can I throw an idea out there? And we might be able to confirm some of this as we watch some of his earlier movies as we keep going. Is it possible he made this just so he could test out Rain?
That is
I'm
true.
just
I can see
saying.
that happening.
I
It
mean,
is true.
you know, I haven't seen it yet because it's not out right now. But is it possible Christopher Nolan made Oppenheimer just so he could film a bomb going off?
We know that's why he
The
made it.
world may never. Okay, yeah, but it's probably that. He's like, I got one idea that I really want to do, and I want to make a movie around it just so I can do it. Maybe
Didn't they,
Shinkai
like,
did that here.
Didn't he build an actual bomb for it?
Yeah, he literally
It's
made the
all
atomic bomb
practical
all
effects.
practically.
Yep.
So I was like, Chris, you do realize we can make the atomic bomb CG, right? Laughs and practical explosions.
It is not going to look as interesting in CG. We all know this. We've all seen CGI explosion, but have you been in the middle of a 1.5 mile wide nuclear explosion? No one has, but we shall. Who knows? Maybe the movie sucks. I have no idea. But I'm going to find out pretty soon. Anyway, any final thoughts for The Garden of Words before we move on?
Sure.
No.
You are valid. I personally do not like feet. I think they are smelly and oddly shaped. But I will say, this lady did have some nice feet.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what?
There you
I
go.
don't hate
Yeah.
looking at this.
I mean,
I'll
I'm
make
not
an
into
exception
feet.
for her.
I'm not into feet, but you're right. This bitch has some good feet. For once, it didn't just look like some fucked up
They were
hands.
pretty good feet.
There's Cece's unhinged horny take for the day.
Okay, we should move on before it gets weirder.
Yep, everyone here is horny for only one set of feet. That should be your number one takeaway. And that you're valid. Whoever you are, you're valid.
What about the shoes? Did we like the shoes?
The shoes
I
were
did like
nice.
the shoes.
I like the shoes.
I don't have an opinion. I'm not particularly into shoes.
They were pretty nice with the little leaves on them.
Yeah, they're a little Miss Frizzle, and I love that in a shoe.
He might have a future in
I think
cosplay.
they kind of
Yeah.
looked like bowling-esque at a glance.
They have heels.
Really?
I see what you mean, though, with the color blocking.
Maybe. I mean, that was a style for a particular time. Maybe he's going for like the old school type stuff. Who can say? Anywho, let's talk about next week, because next week we are watching Children Who Chase Lost Voices. Or The Children. I keep forgetting the thes. Yeah.
Interesting movie.
Anyone seen this yet?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
watched it ahead of time because I forgot we were doing this one first. So I was
Oh,
thinking.
Same.
So
Well, no, we just watched it ahead of time because
Oh.
we knew
Yeah.
we were recording this a bit earlier.
Right.
Okay.
But actually, I had not realized this was a Shinkai film until we did this whole thing. Like, I love Children Who Chase Lost Voices.
That's really good,
Save that
right?
thought for next week, because I haven't seen
It lives
anything yet.
rent-free in my head.
Oh boy, now I'm excited. Well, go watch that and come back and we'll discuss it next week. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye!
Hey, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon for notifications. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like, and if you haven't already, check out some of our previous episodes, our daily gaming videos, or our parody series Madoka Magically Abridged. See you next time!